Welcome back to the studios, everyone. Today I have yet another weapon build for you all. This time I'm taking apart the World War II Thompson M1A1 and modernizing it to fit the 21st century. This video will be the first of many as a part of a series called WE Airsoft Edition. This is a WE gas blowback airsoft replica of the Thompson M1A1 that I've added a red dot M4 stock adapter and a new handguard so I can fit other attachments like grips, a flashlight and a laser. Let me know what you think down below in the comments and enjoy the video. First, I begin by setting up every single file up on my slicer to get it ready to print. All the files I've used are down in the description. The slicer that I'm using is Orca Slicer, and my printer is the Sowell SV06 Plus. Here you can see my settings and my orientation of the models. Once the files are ready, I send them to the machine and print them. As mentioned earlier, this is a gas blowback replica of the Thompson M1A1 made by WE Airsoft. It's licensed and you can see all the markings here. First, I remove all the supports from the prints. Here are all the parts. As you can see, they all need to get sanded and painted properly. And I also need to figure out a way to properly attach all the parts together, but that's a problem for later. The stock actually didn't work, as you can see later on, but what I decided to do is I use a M4 style stock instead and use an adapter that I've printed out. Here is my PEC 10 laser device, but do not use it in airsoft, as lasers can cause harm to eyes. Here are a couple of grips that I would like to try later on to see which one actually fits and which one is more ergonomic. As my aiming device, I went with a compact red dot as it weighs the least since it will go on top of a printed rail and gives me the most field of view. I'll also be installing a TNT retrofit kit, which includes a new longer and a reinforced barrel and a hop-up unit. Here is the magazine. I'll say the magazine leaks a lot, so I'll make a video on how to fix that too. I'll also be making a before you buy a video so you can see if the gun is for you or not, where I'll list all the cons and pros, unbiased. There's also some rust on this that needs to get fixed. First up, I start by removing all the replica wooden parts which are held down by just screws. Some people may be triggered by me changing a World War II gun into a modern gun, and it is a bit cursed, I'll give you that. But to make some people at ease, I won't be doing any drilling or cutting, so the replica will be fine. Now that the wooden parts are off, I can start by taking apart the rest of the gun. First, I remove the rear iron sight plate. However, I am going to be using it later as my backup sight, so I'll install it back once the rails are on. Here's a fun fact. On the original stock, there is this hole on the rear just like the real thing, where soldiers would have their gun oil for field maintenance. Nowadays in the military, we have them in our pistol grip on our M4s. I separate the upper receiver from the lower so I can have access to the bolt carrier. This thing also needs to get properly cleaned and lubed with grease. Here you can see how it works. Then I take out the screw that holds the barrel in place. Here we got the inner barrel and hop-up unit, which will upgrade to something more heavy-duty. First, I remove the front sight and clean it. Here is the new TNT retrofit kit, which is complete hop-up unit and a barrel. This thing gives better adjustment for the hop-up chamber, which is CNC aluminum, and has the correct DB loading position of the chamber. The screws are also a nice touch on it since they don't rattle like the stock one. It also has a better bucking and a precision double inner barrel, which has better air seal, which gives better shooting performance and is also a bit longer than the stock barrel, which is always a nice touch. I'm giving it a little bit of oil so it can have a longer lifespan and is always a good idea for proper maintenance. For now, I'm going to be installing the low receiver without cleaning because I can use it to test fit the printed parts, and later I'll clean and lubricate it. Here you can see me test fit the printed parts. Before I do more, I need to get rid of the rust off the charging handle, so I use a low grit sandpaper. Then I apply some oil and clean it. Once it is dry, I wrap around these stipple grip tapes around the charging handle to give it a nice feeling. Then I add some grease and install it. Now we can move over to the handguard. I start from a low grit sandpaper and work my way up to get rid of the print lines. Here you can see how it looks after a 120 and a 220 grit sandpaper. I also sanded a little around the edges so the parts can fit smoothly. After giving the parts a quick wash and dry them, I hit them with some primer and sand again. Then we repeat. I forgot to press record, but I've attached the bottom and side rails onto the handguard with adhesive and stuck the two handguard parts together. Here you can see me add the top rails. I'm going to be using a strong adhesive, then I'll use screws to attach it properly. Here is the adapter part that will allow me to attach an M4 buffer tube and a stock. So I couldn't get the 3D printed pistol grip to fit, so I just decided to wrap around the original grip. I've hit the parts with black paint and protective coat so the paint can hold for a long time. And you can see the lines are fully gone, except the areas that will get covered up. The first part fits perfectly onto the upper receiver by the two screws on the rear side. Then I attach the rest of the handguard and secure them with a screw. The adapter uses the screw spots of the original stock and sits nice and tight. I use all the original parts that come with any M4 style buffer, which makes the install easier. Once that's in, I can install my stock. This is a G&G GOS V4 stock, which I find really nice. It's ergonomic, doesn't weigh very much, and has a nice pad in the back which is comfortable. Then I install the upper rails. As for the grip, I tried out both the vertical and the angled grip and was more comfortable with the angled one. Then I installed the sling mount on one side. I'm using the Tokimori compact red dot as I like the reticle and the overall size of it. It is the same one that's on top of the new Tokimori Glock 17 Gen 5. I adjusted its position around the same position as the bolt to get in balance between field of view and aim distance. Then I install a light with a pressure switch to light up all the dark spots. And lastly, a laser for looks, which you shouldn't be using in an airsoft game as it can hurt people's eyes. I tried installing on the side because I thought it would get in the way of the red dot, but I switched it onto the top later. And with that, I was finished and could move over to the Glamour Shots. As always, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.